Jai Jai Jai, Namaste. Welcome to another episode of MyStory Unveiled. Such a pleasure to have you here, and thank you for returning to check out the show. On this week's episode, I have one of my very, very good friends with me, Sidd Chitnis. Sidd, thank you so much for being here, my brother.
Absolutely.
It's such a pleasure to reconnect always. And what I usually do is I just jump straight in, and we'll just get to it, and you can tell your story however it's unfolded for you, no rush. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So Sidd, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start at the beginning. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Anything you want to share?
Well, let me first start by saying, Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure knowing you as a friend, and I'm very happy today that I'm here on the podcast on a new adventure that you are starting, and I appreciate you making me a part of this. So
Absolutely.
I think that's first and foremost very important to me. So I appreciate that. And it's interesting when you said let's start the story, because to me, I think every story begins with an incident, right? And I love, as off the camera when we were speaking and you were telling me about your podcast and the new stuff that you are starting, and you invited me. I have had this fortune in life of meeting so many wonderful people and friends in this foreign land to me.
Yeah, me too. Even
And
though
you
I'm from
too.
the West.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The land of Los Angeles, and which is obviously my home now. But originally, again, I come from India. I was born and raised in the western part of the country in India, in a place called as Pune.
Gotcha.
Now, it is on the global map, of course, but many people know Mumbai or the old Bombay.
Right.
And Pune is roughly about, I would say, 100 miles from our coast, which is the coast of Bombay. So
Gotcha.
that's where I was born.
Can I ask a quick question? Because I know I'm okay with India as far as geography goes.
Yeah.
Is Pune still in the state of Maharashtra?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And
so I'm not doing too bad on my Indian geography then.
You're definitely not. And India is an interesting place, a lot of interesting states. But again, like you pointed out, the western part, mainly the state of Maharashtra, has the financial capital of the country, which is Bombay or Mumbai.
Gotcha.
And I come from a place which is what we consider as the educational and the cultural capital of the country, which is Pune.
Yeah.
And the reason I said educational and cultural is because, growing up, I realized how much important it was, because Pune is a place where people come to get a lot of advanced education. Yeah. There are great schools and colleges. But then what always interested me the most was the flip side, the culture side of it. And because, I started learning music at a very young age, Pune has a very special place in my heart, because I, from a very young age, was able to see some of the greatest and the biggest artists in Indian music, whether it's, classical, semi-classical Indian music, perform right where I was born.
That's wonderful.
And that was the beauty of that place.
Does Bollywood have quite deep connections to that general area and region as well?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's funny that we are sitting here probably 10 minutes from Hollywood.
I know.
And when I boarded that flight, the joke is that I was telling people that I'm flying from Bollywood to Hollywood.
I love it.
And that was the interesting thing. And Bollywood is on the global map. Indian film industry is so big now, with pretty much big budget movies, and everyone remembers the fancy Indian dancing, which
Oh
is
yeah.
there in the movies.
That's the first thing that just came to my mind. The choreography, well, compositions as well. We'll get to talk about music a little bit as we get more into this conversation. But choreography in general in Bollywood and in India, and I believe that probably stems from like traditions because everything is articulated so beautifully. I find in the East and within a lot of these Eastern cultures that it really comes out in an artistic format.
That is very right, and I think that's a great point because in India I was talking about the classical music, and then we have a whole genre of like dance forms, which are Bharatnatyam or Arangetram, and these are probably the roots of what we saw in the in modern Bollywood dancing, and I feel that is all stemming back from the cultural elements of that dance forms, which have transformed and gone into this modern extent that what we see now. In the Bollywood music, but certainly it was, for me, it was quite interesting to come from that background,
Yeah.
and land here in Hollywood. The joke coming from Bollywood to Hollywood,
Yeah.
and I still remember, going back, and you're making me a bit nostalgic now from this experience because when I was packing the bags, and I'm remembering the first flight I took about 16 years back to come to this country, it was an interesting experience because I remember Aaron actually not sleeping for almost 4 to 5 days. Wow. And growing up in India, the only thing I really knew was I used to watch a lot of English movies growing up, right? And there used to be references about Hollywood all the time. I remember LAPD to be growing up in the movies. Watching the movies is like, oh, LAPD is one of the best in the world, and I knew that at the back of the mind, right? So there was always this element of like, we are moving to a place which is like glamorous. It has that, the Los Angeles, the Hollywood effect. And it's funny and interesting that when I came, I basically came for educational purposes because I was, enrolling to my master's and PhD in computer engineering. But nevertheless, the other side of my mind was always thinking about, oh my God, we have always seen this in movies.
Yeah.
How is that going to be in reality?
And the longer you're here, you do get used to it, but I also don't take it for granted. But there was a lot of times where I'd watch movies like as a kid or in my teens, and the first few weeks, it took a few weeks for me to get it out of my system because it felt so surreal. Like I'm walking around different parts of Hollywood or LA and just looking at the street signs, whether it's like a La Brea or Highland, Santa Monica, Melrose. I'm like, I've seen these signs and these areas in countless music videos or movies, in high action movies and stuff. And now I can call myself a resident of LA and California, and it's very beautiful,
Yeah, 100%. And, action movies, how can I ever forget the movie called as Terminator?
Right.
Terminator 1, I was in India when that movie was released. And it was funny you brought up that point because when I came here, right, if people have known, your audience knows, Terminator, very famous movie, right? And I'm just looking at some of the roads where the filming has happened, the famous
the freeway bridge.
The freeway bridge, yes.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I'm like, oh my God, I am like right here now in this land.
Yeah.
And it was tremendous attraction for the first 2 years. I remember I just went to places and I was searching for like, oh my God, I have seen this in the movies, whether it's Hollywood sign or whether
Capitol Records is always popping up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the first time, Aaron, I went to Hollywood Boulevard, I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe that I was here. And that's kind of an effect which happens, right? Growing up in India, It's a very hustling, bustling country,
Definitely.
and then you travel over here to this glamour land,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I remembered, in this journey coming over here. But again, like you said, now I call this place as home, and
Yeah.
there's a home back in India, so it's home away from home, and that's the beauty of like sharing cross culturally, coming from a faraway place, 7 oceans across, like India,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to say that I'm a Los Angeles resident here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing I'll add into that, and I'm sure you'll agree, because LA is kind of like a melting pot and so diverse and multicultural, I feel like it's so easy to feel at home here because regardless of where you're from, whether you might be Russian, Armenian, Indian, British, Australian, Chinese, Thai, and I can go on and on and on, there is something for everybody in LA because it really feels like, I don't know if it was built on its identity because sorry, on like, immigrant, its identity was built on it being, like an immigrant kind of city. But there really is, I find there's something for everybody here. And regardless of what background you're from, what your culture is, you can find your people here. You can find any kind of food, ethnic foods that you like. LA is just a place where it's hard to get bored and you'll always find like your people and your community, I find. So it acts as a home away from home, I find.
I agree to that, and it's so fascinating to me when I look at the history of this place. I was complete unknown to that, but if you remove the first part of what we were talking about, which is minus the glamour, this place has such a rich history,
Right.
as a hub here in California. And if you take different cultures like what you spoke about, and I just love how much, for example, the Latino culture is here, right? Their music, their food, and 90 minutes away, you have the border, and you can Mexico is right there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you see some of the old homes in downtown Los Angeles, and
Uh-huh.
I've been on a tour to some of those homes, and there's so much rich history of this, which I had no idea, which I could only know after I got here and spend some time, just exploring places. Like you,
Yes,
you could
yes.
go to different places in Los Angeles County, and there's always something to explore. And it's funny because I was looking at this website called as roadsideamerica.com to just see, what different places are there around me, right?
Yeah.
And I came across like at least 11 to 13 different places that I had not known after
Yeah.
15 years
Oh, yeah.
living here.
I always say that, like, even if you are a native of LA, you can live here your whole life. You won't get around to seeing and doing everything because
Exactly.
there's so much. It would take like lifetimes to be able to, explore everything.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fantastic. I wanted to ask you a little bit, just growing up in India, what were some of your favorite like interests and hobbies? And did that play a factor in you coming over to the US, or were you, strictly just here for studying, like you said? But what were some of your interests and hobbies as a kid?
Well, the interesting element of this whole journey is that although I came here to study and through the regular route as a student and doing my masters and everything, the real exploration began because of the interest in the hobbies,
Yeah,
right? Which was always art and music
beautiful.
that I played. And so growing up in India, again, I'm the only child,
Okay.
and so I didn't have any siblings. So what my mom and dad did was that they wanted me to learn an instrument. And
Gotcha.
so at a very young age, they enrolled me into percussions.
Wonderful.
And there's an instrument called as the tabla. These are ancient Indian drums. And I started learning tabla at a very young age. I mean, I think I was like probably 6 years old when I first started playing. Now, obviously, if you were born in an Indian household with Indian parents, unfortunately, what happens is that this is a joke in the Indian community. You're always only allowed to pick 3 careers in life. Either you can be a
Let me
doctor.
guess 2 of them. Yeah. Or an engineer, right?
Yeah, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, or you can be an engineer. Those are the only 3 career choices. But I wanted to be a musician because, as I started playing more, my mom was always very supportive for this, right? She was always pushing me growing up as a kid. No, you have to be sincere and you have to attend the classes, you have to practice. She always used to chalk out my week and used to say I need to do some practice, or we call it as riyaz, uh, every 3 to 4 times a week, and practice those lessons. And so I really found the real joy of life was actually in playing music. And then eventually, as I started on that journey and became good at it, because I remember I was pretty disciplined and I followed my mom's advice because she was very strict about it. I started getting better. So, because if you learn anything at a younger age, Aaron, then you kind of build that skill set quite early, right?
Totally.
And so I started performing at a lot of different places. And the interesting thing about your question is that how did that kind of help me as I got here?
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say, Aaron, the friends and the relationships that I built because of the people that I found in the music community after I got here are just extraordinary. That's one of the jewels of my life personally, because as soon as I got here, I was always kind of starting to get active in the music circle. I was trying to find if anyone in my university was playing music, and I found a few people who were, there was a band, and I said, I raised my hand and I said, hey, I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, perform. And then I performed some solo for them. They loved it. And that's it. We were friends. And so even in that circle, I was, while I was studying, I was always kind of interested in doing like the weekend activities, as we call, is to be able to practice with the band. If you get an opportunity, go ahead and perform the solo if you can. And those were really the moments that I remember, which are kind of bright moments, if you will.
That's amazing. Yeah, just to not interject, but just to throw like some of my like opinions in there. I love what your mom created for you, because in doing so, her method, that probably created a really good foundation of discipline, like you said, putting in the time, putting in the practice. And that's how you become, like a master of your craft, essentially. So I think that's wonderful what she did to help you create that discipline to learn. And some, like you said, like parents can be quite strict and they might want you to go into a specific field, but the fact that she allowed you that freedom to explore an artistic and creative activity.
And recently, Aaron, I was reading a book by Ryan Holiday. The book was titled as Discipline is Destiny, all right? And I was actually blown away by the book, because I could obviously see, and I strongly still believe that, for any art form to be cultivated to its fullest extent, discipline is the key element in everything.
Yeah.
The more you are disciplined to sit, and we'll take an example, you and I play instruments, we're musicians in a way, right? I feel with any instrument, you need time, but most importantly, you need to show up there every day.
Consistency.
To sit down consistently. Mm-hmm. And that has to be embedded as a part of discipline that you build.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will find, and I thank my parents all the time for this, because my grandpa always used to say, like, the art forms that you cultivate, the skill set that you build, whether it's painting, drawing, performing. Here we are talking about music, which is a performing art, right? Those are the jewels that you will take through your entire life,
Yeah.
and they will shine from moment to moment. And I had this aha moment, like literally I've had, when I look back, Aaron, at my life. I'll give you an example, right? Uh, an example which has ingrained in my mind to be like the game changer, for example.
Right.
Right. So I was at the last year of my university, and obviously I was very tense about finding a job, so I started interviewing, right?
Right.
And I got the job with a very good company. While the company said to me that, here's your job letter. The only thing now you need is the permission from your university to be able to work full time,
Right.
right? People who come on students' visas, it's a long process, and
Oh, yeah.
everyone knows that you need, they can give you the permission to work part time, but it's very difficult to get a permission to work full time.
Gotcha.
Right? And I was in the last semester of my program, of my
Yeah.
master's program. But then there was a concert in the university that I was a part of, that I was playing.
Right.
And I just recall that incident. Oh my God. I'm on the stage.
Uh-huh.
I have about 300 students right in front of me, you know. And I said, I'm going to play this wonderful piece for all of you now. And I did a solo piece for about 15 minutes on tabla. Little did I know that the head of our international association
Yeah.
was all the way back in the crowd watching that performance.
Wow.
While on the background, my application was pending at his desk
No way.
for a full time, for me to be able to work full time at this company.
Yeah.
15 years have passed for that incident, Aaron. Little did I know that the future was taking place at that moment. And it was happening through my grandpa's words came back to my mind. The performance ended. The International Association head came to me and he said, "We never knew we had an international renowned percussionist in our university." And I said, "Sir, I have one request for you." And then the conversation began, and he said, "I will approve your form tomorrow." And these small incidents, Aaron,
Yeah.
and then the grandpa's words come to me that these art forms will help you, whether you are with three friends and you get connected with people, or these kinds of magical incidents happen.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that being a musician or cultivating that art form back from the days when my mom said, "No, you got to go and attend the lesson. You got to learn this," right? I'm very thankful for that.
That's amazing. That's a great story. Synchronistic alignment almost. And I'm a big believer in like energy attracts energy. And I think all the passion and all the enthusiasm that you probably put into that performance, it actually probably really touched that gentleman because he got to actually not just, see a number and a numeric, because how many students are there within every university? Thousands, possibly tens of thousands at any given time. So the fact that he got to do like a personal comparison, I imagine you impressed him to ridiculous levels, and he got a personal feel for the kind of person and talent that you are as well.
Yeah, and you never know what doors it can open for you if you just look at that opportunity, right? And I'm a big believer, and I read about this, Aaron, a few years back. I don't remember the author of this, but I remember the words that he said. And he said, in order to see what not many have seen, you have to be where not many have been.
Yes.
And it hit me quite a bit in spiritual sense, because if I was not there at that time, performing on that stage, I would not have seen the future or the door that it had opened up for me. And so, in order to see what not many have seen, you have to be where not many have been. You have to explore those opportunities. You have to be present there to see that door get opened. And it hit me spiritually because, lo and behold, 15 years have passed for that small little incident which happened at 3:30 p.m. in California State University, Long Beach. And I am having, and just if you talk, what happened with that incident? Okay, I was able to get the permission and I started working. I am still at that company, Aaron. And 15 glorious years of career and everything, just because of music or because of that opportunity that opened up.
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. I think it's fantastic how you've been able to always, it's obviously been ingrained in you, and regardless of what you've been doing, what your title and occupation might be, or what your status and where you might be in life, music's obviously such a big important element. And really that's how we met a few years back, because I remember we got connected at a place called Radha Kunj, which is obviously it was a spiritual temple, because I fell onto the path of Hinduism and love to explore all things Hinduism. So I got connected with Radha Kunj in Pasadena, a nice little community temple. And that's where we met. And at the time, I wouldn't say I was really looking to explore Indian music, but I really opened up to the possibility of playing and, exploring it. So I started out, when it comes to, like Kirtan and Indian music, by just starting with the bare basics, like the kartals or the manjiri. And these are little small, just for anyone that doesn't know, these are small little cymbals on a rope, like on a string, and you hold them in a certain way and you kind of play with the wrists in a motion, whatever the tempo might be or time signature. And it's funny, actually, we have a similar story, because I started out as a percussionist and drummer myself, but I loved like rock music. So my parents bought me like a drum kit when I was about 13, and I started to learn all like rock music kind of stuff. Now, my career transitioned, and I like to do, similar things to yourself, like healing music, and explore like the melodic handpan, which we have here as well. But going back to what I was saying about, Indian styles, it's so structured and it's so disciplined that, you really have to lock in and put in the work. But through starting with something simple, like these lovely little chiming things that act as like a metronome to keep the timing, a lot of the time it's just like ting, ting, chick, ting, ting, chick, ting, ting, chick. Through that, it really actually created this discipline, going back to discipline again, where I could lock in and almost become a part of the music, become absorbed into the beauty of what I was like receiving and giving it. It sounds weird, but you almost get lost, just lost in the moment and the bliss.
And I think you're spot on, Aaron, because with these instruments, and you gave the example of the kartals, for example, right? I think you're building so much of awareness and also healing for your own body.
Yes.
And if you think about any type of percussion instrument you played along with the kartals, you're building your ear, because you have to be conscious with what the song or other people or the percussionist is playing. That is building that awareness. But most importantly, I found in my life, playing an instrument, it has built more focus for me. So if you take that discipline, and then if you start playing that instrument, and if you see the cascading effects on to the other elements of your body, building focus, building concentration. There is research now which is suggesting, right, instruments like the piano, the handpan, which I have got today, is a whole different story as we explore that,
Yeah.
or percussive elements where you're using your fingers to play something, is actually helping your brain to be more sharper.
Wow.
Because the brain is sending hundreds and thousands of signals to your body as you're playing these instruments, right? And whether you're playing a percussion, whether you're playing a handpan, whether you're playing kartals, your body is reacting to those signals. And then I feel outside of discipline, like I said, consciousness, focus, concentration, which is going to help you in other parts and dimensions of your life, I feel it's one of the most important things. And I obviously, Aaron, you gave a great example. You and I met at a similar place where there was a lot of music.
Spirituality and music, which are two key things for me, and obviously I don't want to like speak for you, but I believe they're two quite like key things for you as a person as well, and that synergy matched us nicely, and we've gone on to collaborate and perform in the same musical group, which is an absolute pleasure for me. Seriously, thank you for choosing me to come in and play cartels or offer some vocals, because that means more than anything to me to be able to chant the names of the divine, as well. And it's amazing where music takes you. But I'm so glad that I got to connect with you and meet you. And this here right now is a great segue into Saffron Skies and a project that you started yourself. If you want to talk a little bit about Saffron Skies.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Saffron Skies was a quite an ambitious project that I personally started. The project is still running. Saffron Skies is a group based here in Los Angeles that I lead. And again, this is the group of musicians that I have met in this journey.
Yeah.
And the whole point of Saffron Skies is to basically spread harmony, spread spirituality through the music, right? An interesting thing, Aaron, when we talk about all these coincidences, right? Meeting people, but I actually met an instrument in this journey, which is this handpan. And I had not known about what an handpan is, for example, growing up in India. We don't have handpans in India, right? And I remember performing here at a place here in downtown Los Angeles with my tablas when a individual came to me and he said, I have something which I want to show you. And I said, what is it? And he's carrying a tortoise type something in his bag, So he takes out his backpack and he says, I have something here. You might be able to play it. And I looked at it, and there it was. Yeah. And I had not seen an instrument which actually brings the harmonical element along with the percussion element all together. And that is what handpan was.
Yeah.
And so when I first took it and I first played it, the sound of the handpan just mesmerized me. And I requested this person, hey, I want to play this. Can I keep it for 2 days? And then I finally bought it from him.
Wow.
And that's how the handpan journey started. And I have performed at so many places here now, but just, again, met some of the greatest people along with it. With handpan, the beauty of the handpan is that it produces frequencies which are very healing to your body, right? So that I feel is another thing which makes handpan quite special from the tablas that I play. Is that handpan is a very calming, relaxing, meditational type instrument. And I feel like in our chaotic lives, and I play handpan almost every day, at least for 5 minutes or so.
Right.
I've never had sleep issues.
It's so interesting that you touched on how it has these you know, the frequencies that can like very much like relax the body. The first time I saw a handpan was I was actually hiking Runyon Canyon, and right at the start of Runyon Canyon, there was always a guy there that would set up and play this cool thing. Later, come to find it's a handpan, and it was just so beautiful to hear. I was like, wow, what a great instrument. And you know, it definitely looks like that kind of like modern, more spiritual type of person, and I just thought it was like beautiful. And then later on down the line, like this was once I got a few years into like my sobriety, and I started to focus more on like wellness and like health, and explore like Ayurveda and the Ayurvedic lifestyle. I started to learn how, like, you know, sound can act as medicine, and the frequencies can be very, very healing. And since discovering that, I bought a handpan a couple of years back as well. I have a blue one. It looks like a little mini UFO. But I had a great opportunity to actually. I had a beautiful opportunity to do some therapy sessions and work in like detox and recovery centers with people that are in recovery for maybe like drug and alcohol abuse. And I actually take the handpan in, and I'll do guided meditations every now and again. So it's been a beautiful instrument for me to explore, and in a way I'm able to give back in a positive way through this beautiful instrument.
I agree. And I'm gonna just play this for
I'd love
one
you to.
second. You know, just we were talking about the healing frequencies, right? And if you can see the sound of this instrument, like, so the resonance itself is so healing and meditation. And I'm gonna try to play a loop here real quick for 30 seconds to see how.
Do you know what's so funny is I remembered I actually have cartels with me. Now I won't interfere unless you want a little tempo, but I actually realized I have some little
Let's get
cartels.
a small tempo going.
All right.
Let's do this. Look.
This way we can really walk the walk, you know, and not just talk the talk. Beautiful. That was a nice little impromptu.
That was a nice little,
Almost like an impromptu sound bath there. So all the viewers and listeners might be asleep. So time to wake up. But it is so relaxing and therapeutic. So like going back to what you were saying. In a world or in a country where, let's be honest, like people are working, which is quite normalized now, 40, 50-hour work weeks, you know, and maybe you're managing that stress with different coping mechanisms. Some people it might be alcohol, some people it might be prescription medication for anxiety, depression, etc. These are very beautiful natural elements and tools that aid, stress, anxiety, because it really does bring this system to a calm place. And I can honestly say I fall asleep every night to sound bath music, which is another similar instrument, but it's the crystal quartz singing bowls. I will put one on every night and guaranteed within 2 to 3 minutes I am out.
And I completely agree with you, Aaron. The great part of this country is that this country provides so many opportunities, right?
Yes.
The hard part of this country is that you have to keep working. And, you know, you were talking about, the whole busyness of life and the chaotic nature of life, and especially in metro towns like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, where, you have to be continuously upbeat on your feet. I feel like having this something like an instrument like this, or having a practice of some sort, which kind of keeps you grounded. And for me personally, handpan has had a life-changing effect for me, because I played every night after a very tiring day of work and other activities. I'm using this as a vehicle to guide me and my body into a much calmer state. And obviously, with the frequencies and the healing qualities that this instrument has, I would recommend all of your viewers go online, find yourself a handpan. And the most important thing about this is that this is a very easy instrument to play. So the learning curve is not as difficult. I've had multiple students, Aaron, which say to me, any instrument is very tough. It's very difficult. To me, I feel like the easiest instrument to learn is handpan, because it works on the loops. It's very simple. It's very easy. But the risk to reward is much better here, because the reward is bigger, which is basically having all of these healing effects on your body, just completely changing. And to your point, I mean, from people who are on prescription medication for sleep issues, like, this is it. Like, spend $400, $300 on a used handpan, or go on Amazon, find one, and get it in.
Yeah, I think as well, habits can, play a big part in things like that. Like, obviously everybody's in a different boat and situation, but I had insomnia when I was in college, and I just didn't put the simplest things together. And I went to the doctor, and I said to my doctor, I'm not feeling overwhelmed through the workload, but I just can't sleep at night. And he said, what's your caffeine intake? And I said, well, I'm a coffee drinker. He said, okay, stop drinking coffee after 5 p.m. And what it'll do, it should be out of your system by the time you start going to bed. So I took that advice very seriously. And so since I've been about like 21, 22, unless I've been like so tired and like just needed a little pick me up to get through a work day, I reduced my coffee intake to just like 2 cups of coffee a day. I have one to wake up in the morning. I have about a 4-hour gap just to not over caffeinate, and then I'll have another one around midday, 1 o'clock, just as a little boost. But I was abusing caffeine too much before, to the point where I was so caffeinated at night I couldn't sleep. So you can also pull certain things, but with things like therapeutic music, whether it be classical music, or you try the handpan, or you try listening to the crystal singing bowls, I do think that these can help you get away from certain like crutches, and even like in terms of like medication, if you take it for like sleep issues, too much melatonin, I think can actually deplete your natural sense of melatonin, which is like this, I think it's like something to do with the third eye. It's stored in the third eye. And honestly, from what I've read over the years, the best way to get melatonin production is through sunlight and that natural vitamin D. So be outdoors more. If you think of this time of year, like December, it's essentially, like the winter season and stuff for the US. The sunlight's more restricted because there's less sunlight throughout the day. So my advice to people, if you are having any kind of sleep issues, try get a little more natural sun. And you can obviously always make other dietary adjustments as well, like try to eat a little cleaner, maybe reduce the meat that's in your diet and things like that. But I'm obviously not like a health and wellness guru. I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. My priority is just to always give people a few little tips and recommendations and to see if it works for them at the end of the day. But just going back to different aids, I love having this kind of music just playing in the background at home while I'm burning an incense stick, and it just creates such a peaceful environment. It actually centers you, I find, as a person, not just like externally, but internally. And I think this is where a lot of people forget that a lot of things start from the inside, So usually a lot of people that are very glowing and good looking and beautiful, it's because they've got a very like calm internal system and they're doing it right on the inside. But let's just talk about consumption just as an example. If you're eating trash, and you're smoking cigarettes and drinking and you're doing it excessively, then that's going to have an overall effect on how you feel, maybe your vibrational energy, and things like that. So there's always different things you can do in the realm of, consuming better things. And even in terms of music, what we consume on a listening level, and even what we see too, like if we're maybe watching too many crime movies, then it can affect the way you think and stuff. But maybe I'm watching more things like wisdom talks or TED talks, and everything you consume, I find has an interesting effect on your psyche, your body, the way you feel. Just to throw that into the mix.
Yeah, and you brought a great point, and I'll give you my personal example because I actually work in the field of computer forensics.
Gotcha.
Right? So that field is the work is obviously chaotic. It's very challenging, and for me, at least personally, what I found was I needed some sort of balance, right? And I am not a big believer of consuming any type of a drug or a pill in order to get me to that state.
Yeah.
I asked myself this question a few years back. What are the tools and skill sets that I have, which I always call as low-hanging fruits, which I can rely upon, that I can use to heal myself? Because the body is a self-healing instrument.
Yes.
We just like what you said, you have to look inward. Like for some people, meditation is going to be excellent. For some people, taking a walk is going to be amazing, like you said, in the sun. For me, what works is to sit with this instrument. And after an extremely hectic week or a day, I sit up with this and I'm completely balanced. Right? Because I know with self-experimentation, and it took me a while to get to that state, right? But back to what we were talking about, self-discipline, and to be able to understand, and I feel 100% every person, if they look inward, they have this type of skill set, a tool set that they can utilize to heal themselves. It's just about stopping and looking inward, right? They might come across a habit or a practice that has helped them before. The low-hanging fruit needs to be plucked first. Many times I have seen people come up with very ambitious plans, and they go from one extreme of the pendulum to another. And they would say, I want to do this, which I have never done in life, which is great and amazing. But in order to build a habit out of it, you're going to need substantial amount of time to be able to devote and then build that practice, right? While as you might find that chanting names, you found chanting names, right? That was a habit, a practice that you embedded, and slowly you were able to find that, oh my God, chanting the names of the gods, which is in tradition of Hindu religion, a very ancient science and a proven science, right? That these names of the gods or the mantras that we chant, which are written in the ancient language of Sanskrit, have healing effects. Now the world is using that. The research was done way back thousands of years ago and is written in scriptures, people who are very close to it, for example, I, who was born in the tradition, I saw this from a very young age,
Yeah.
right? And I do this every day.
Yeah.
You saw it from outside and you built that into your habit. And I think that is very important, is to see what practice, whether it might be handpan, whether it is chanting, what is that
Yeah.
that you find? It might be a low-hanging fruit, it might be from a different culture that you can embed in
Yeah.
to find that balance, the centeredness that you were just talking about.
One thing I love that I want to add, in terms of the origins of things like mantras and Sanskrit mantras, and this comes from, like the Indian continent. These mantras, they like transcend borders and they transcend regions and geographical locations. And I find that, like, just because I'm not from India or born in India, it doesn't mean that those beautiful traditions cannot reach you.
Exactly.
And they're very much spread so far and wide that I find that they've been so welcomed and received with open arms by Westerners, and for me that's one of the most beautiful things. I'm the kind of person, very open. I'm happy to connect with anyone, because I just find that you can always, I think, find something that you might have in common with someone, even if you're from completely different backgrounds. But I love the fact that no amount of borders or distance can stop somebody from receiving what is meant for them. Like, I might have been born in Birmingham, England. I've done a little bit of traveling in my life and now live in LA. And what really speaks to me and resonates with me is things like chanting Sanskrit mantras, and it is so beautiful and energizing for the system. I had a time in my life where I even experimented with psychedelics, and obviously, I don't condone this kind of stuff. I'm just talking about my experiences. Now, when I do things like breath work and chanting mantras, when I get into a state, the states take me to beyond the level of what I even experience with psychedelics. It's so amazing by chanting certain words and syllables. So that's how powerful it is. I'll put that message out there. You can get to very, very high states through chanting Sanskrit mantras.
Chanting Sanskrit mantras, and as you were talking about this, one beautiful mantra popped in my mind. And I always say this to everyone who is beginning a new thing, a new adventure, a new journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the traditional mantra of Lord Ganesha, because in India mantras are written for various different forms.
Yes.
Some mantras are written as praises for these gods. So Lord Ganesha, which is the god of new beginnings. In the West, some people call it as the elephant god.
Yes. Ganapati.
The Ganapati, the word Ganpati is Ganesha, Lambodara, all of these different words which are given to Ganesha. We have the Sanskrit mantra Vakratunda, Mahakaya, Surya Koti, Samaprabha, Nirvignam, Kurume Deva, Sarva Karyeshu, Sarvada. So if you see the history of this mantra, right,
Yes.
there is a praise which is being done to Lord Ganesha in the first line, where Vakratunda Mahakaya, hey Lord Ganesha, you have a trunk or a tusk which is curved.
Yeah.
So the word in Sanskrit is Vakra. Tunda means the tusk of Lord Ganesha. Surya Kaya. So,
The sun.
The sun. You have the power of the sun.
Yes.
Surya Koti, 100,000 suns. You have the power of that.
Beautiful.
Samaprabha Nirvignam. But then there is a request for that Lord Ganesha, where you are saying that I am starting on this new journey. I'm starting a new thing. Please, Nirvignam means let there be no obstacles
Yes.
in my journey to move forward. But look how beautiful this mantra is, right?
Yeah.
It's praising the Lord. It's requesting the Lord, hey, I'm ready for this trip, this new adventure in my life, this new beginning that I'm starting. can you please bless me? You have so much power.
Yeah.
Remove all the obstacles from my life and move and help me succeed in this. It cannot be that beautiful, you know.
I love everything you just said, because I'm actually I'm a devotee of Lord Shiva. I'm a Shiva Bhakta, but I would say that my Ishta Devata, now that's like the demigod or one of the deities
That's right.
that you feel quite closely connected to. I would say that Ganesha is my Ishta Devata, and even before I fell onto the path of practicing Hinduism, I've had this Ganesha tattoo.
There's the Ganesha, yes.
For many, many years, even before I got sober. So what's interesting as well is this is no word of a lie. We're filming this in Venice, California right now. On the way in, I didn't realize, but there was a huge little holiday marathon going on. And I'm like, oh man, parking is going to be atrocious. How's this going to work? And literally, when I was 2 minutes from the lighthouse where we're filming this and you were on your way, all the Caltrans and the road crews started to remove all the roadblocks. And one of the last text messages I sent to you was Ganesha is removing the obstacles. And now here we are, beautiful synchronistic moment where we're discussing Ganesha and the power of Ganesha, who's known as the remover of obstacles and a very beautiful deity to connect to.
And I do want to give one more mantra which I follow religiously for in my practices, which I think your audience here in the West will be able to relate, is actually the Guru Mantra.
Oh, yes.
And the Guru Mantra is basically similar. You are starting with the praise for your Guru. Mm-hmm. Guru is your teacher. And I strongly feel in today's world, finding a proper mentor, finding a teacher is so difficult. You have to go from one place to another. You have to talk to so many people.
Yeah.
Right? And the mantra actually is quite interesting. Gurur Brahma,
yes.
Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara. So in the first line, the Guru or the teacher is being compared with Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, the great gods, right?
Yes,
Basically, in summary, it's saying that, hey, Guru, you are up on the top. Mm-hmm. You are really great.
Yes.
Right? So, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara,
yes.
Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. And so, it's interesting that you were talking about Sanskrit as a language, but you see how the word Guru is positioned in Sanskrit,
yes,
right?
It's the highest.
If you dissect this word, the word gu and the word ru, right? Yeah. So ru, remember the English word remover.
Yeah.
So treat that ru as a remover. Mm-hmm. And gu is darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the one who is removing the darkness from your life, leading you to the path of brightness,
yes.
That is your true guru.
I love that. One of my favorite mantras is actually the Shanti mantra. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityumamritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And if I remember it rightly, it means something like lead me from untruth to truth, or lead me from the unreal to real. Lead me from darkness to light, and take me from death to immortality. And it's such a beautiful mantra. It reminds me that we're always evolving, and anytime you might be stuck in a tricky situation or darkness, you can always come to this type of music, these mantras, and they are so healing. They will take you from darkness to light. And I feel like this is a beautiful place to end this interview, and a great message. And what I'll say is, I didn't have to ask too many questions of which I needed the answers, because the way this conversation flowed, you spoke about so many things that I didn't. You gave me the answers I was looking for, because I was going to ask you about things like any rituals that you might do in your day-to-day life that are a benefit to you. But you said even after a long day of work, you'll come home, you play the handpan, that's your ritual, that brings you to a point of peace. So what I'll do is, since this is your interview, I'll just let you end by giving or offering any kind of message, wisdom, or you can promote anything that means something to you. But if there's anything you would like to promote for the viewers, listeners, or any wisdom, advice, anything you'd like to say, I'll just leave the floor open for you.
Well, let me first start, Aaron, by saying this has been an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much again for inviting me to this beautiful project. And like I have said in this interview, which is something that affected me in my life, changed my life. And I would say this again, reiterate to everyone that number one, don't give up in life, right? Because like I said, what I read before, in order to see what not many have seen, you have to be where not many have been.
Yeah.
And multiple times, I have myself found myself in this trap that I will close up, door to many opportunities if I don't feel like. But that might be it. You just don't know what opportunity is going to open what door for you. So the message from me is going to be keep exploring, keep meeting people, try new things in life. And if you want to relate that back to the practices and the habits that we have spoken about, the thing that affected me the most was obviously the habit of discipline that I was able to build because of playing an instrument. You might have a different art form, but what is really important is to show up every day, because showing up every day means that you are building that muscle of discipline. And if you are able to build that, miraculous things will happen to you in life. Many multiple doors will open to you in life. And going back to the practices of chanting mantras, I think that's just a medium, a channel to find substantive states of your mind which are going to be very peaceful and healing for you. So I request your viewers to pick up some of these practices if they are interested to. Reach out to me. I'm online. I'm at Saffron Skies Official, which is my handle on Instagram. And if you want to learn handpan, reach out to us. We'll be happy to teach you some basic things. And Aaron, this has been a very pleasurable experience. So thank you one more time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, Sidd. I greatly appreciate it. Such a pleasure to reconnect. Such a pleasure to also get to know you a little better and hear more about your life journey and story. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, this has been Sidd Chitnis. You heard him. If you're interested in exploring maybe different elements of healing music, the handpan, mantras, chanting, feel free to give him a shout online at the handle Saffron Skies Official. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of My Story Unveiled. Pleasure to be with you always, and I can't wait to catch you on the next one. Hey guys, if you liked this episode of My Story Unveiled, make sure to give us a like, give us a follow, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Peace.